Howdy folks, Nathan here with the 2022 Ford Escape Titanium PHEV. It's a plug-in hybrid. Look at that. We've been waiting for this vehicle for a long time. Ford introduced it a couple years back and we've been waiting. So now it's here and it's interesting. In this video, I will be talking about the 5 things I like and dislike about it. But there's something else I wanted to talk about before we get started, and that is how important this vehicle is to Ford. You see, its underpinnings, its components actually go to some of the most important vehicles Ford is currently building, other than the F-150. And that would be the Ford Bronco Sport and the Ford Maverick, both of which owe their existence to part of the platform from this vehicle, or the whole platform from the vehicle, or the powertrain from other versions of the Escape. So I just wanted to point out how important this vehicle is. Also, keep in mind that in 2021, it sold pretty well. Over 170,000 of these were sold in North America in 2021. Now, in the future, it's entirely possible that both the Bronco Sport and the Maverick could get one of these flappy doors, where you plug it in and charge it up. Keep that in mind. One of the issues I have is its handling, and it's not bad, however, it could be better. And one of the reasons why the handling is a little tippy, perhaps a little skittish, is the fact that it has these 225s sitting here. They're really skinny, and it's not a light vehicle. As a matter of fact, this is the heaviest of all of the Ford Escapes, primarily because of the hybrid system and the battery. When you're going around a corner, hold on cameraman, this type of turning, the narrow tires aren't quite up to sporty driving, which is fine because this is not a sports vehicle. Now, if you want more performance, you can get that because there's 2 different turbos they offer and all-wheel drive with those systems, and I would recommend those. In this case, you have low rolling resistance tires, and as such, yeah, they're not very happy flying around corners. Big difference between the handling is the ride. The ride is excellent in this vehicle. It is better than the Toyota RAV4 Prime. Smoother. I can hear road noise for sure, and that's because of these tires, but in terms of the feel on my butt, it feels very good. One of the issues I have, ta-da, gas tank. It's 11.1 gallons. Now, I know this thing gets phenomenal fuel mileage. However, that's not a lot. One of the reasons why this is the smallest fuel tank amongst all of the Escapes is because obviously the battery and lack of room. But I would have thought because it doesn't have all-wheel drive, maybe there would be a way to, I don't know, use some of that empty space and put in a slightly larger gas tank. So that's one of the issues. The other one is the fact that you actually have to hit a button inside in order to pop this thing. Whereas if you want to open up the port to plug in for the battery, you just hit it from the outside and it pops open. I don't know, it's inconsistent. I would rather not have to hit a button every single time I wanted to put fuel in it. You have to pull the release twice in order to open the hood, but unlike a lot of German cars, you still have to use the prop, which I didn't put in the proper space because I'm an idiot. There it goes. Wait for it. There it goes. Yay, I did it right. Okay, so what do we have here? Now, if you combine the electric powertrain, the gas powertrain, 221 horsepower. It is not fast. We'll talk about that in a bit, but what it is extremely efficient. Now, if you just run it every day, like a regular hybrid, basically just put gas in it and drive it around, you'll average 40 miles per gallon. It's combined. However, it is capable of 105 mpge. That's the equivalent. What you can do with this car is you can plug it in at your home and drive it back and forth doing a commute. And if that commute is less than 37 miles, you can do the entire thing electrically. As a matter of fact, this is one of the more efficient electric vehicles out there that has a gas engine. Look at it this way. If you put this on the highway, unlike some other vehicles that have a hybrid powertrain that can let you run some distance with electrical power, this one, as long as it's fully charged, will let you run up to about 86 miles per hour before the gas engine kicks in, and, as I said before, up to 37 miles. That is really impressive. That means that essentially, if you have a short commute, you can drive this vehicle and barely use any fuel for a very long period of time. Now, what's interesting about this setup is that it's very similar in terms of technology with vehicles like the Toyota RAV4 Prime. 2.5 liter gas engine, not a whole lot of power. You get a lot of power reserved from the electric motor that's hooked up to it. But the big difference here is that the Prime is a lot more powerful. I mean, basically like 100 more horsepower. But one of the other things the Prime does, as I mentioned before, is the fact that it has all-wheel drive. But they have very similar transmissions. They call them eCVTs. They're actually not CVTs. They're planetary gear setup that is very similar to the one that's used inside of the Ford Maverick Hybrid, which is one of my favorite vehicles that Ford has recently built. And it works quite well, but it feels like a CVT, you see? However, this vehicle, well, it's a little bit smoother. A real big issue I have is the fact that you cannot get the plug-in hybrid version of the Ford Escape with all-wheel drive. That means that this rear axle is not powered. Competitors do have a powered rear end electrically with Toyota. And the thing is that Ford does build a hybrid version of this that has all-wheel drive. It's a mechanical all-wheel drive system and it works well. So it begs the question, could they have done that with this vehicle? I wouldn't mind sacrificing a little tiny bit of range or fuel mileage if I had all-wheel drive. All right, we're doing the 0 to 60 in sport mode, regular hybrid setup. We're not doing it in electric because we're going to do that second. And this is real world testing, so we do have a cameraman in the car and the chunky monkey. Ready? Here we go. Now, I didn't rev it in advance because it doesn't quite work that way. It feels a little snappier in sport mode, but I don't know if it is. Okay. 9.19. I'm pretty sure it would be nearly a second faster if there were just one person in here, and if it were at sea level, I believe its 0 to 60 time is in the high 7s, low 8s. And that makes total sense. Now, here's the bonus. You could do 0 to 60 using just the electric motor, which is nowhere near as powerful as using both the electric motor and the gas engine. You guys ready for a 0 to 60? It's going to be scintillating, I guarantee it. Here we go. Actually, off the line, it goes all right. And we're at 40. 50. So we're getting there. And here we go. 14.24. I told you it'd be a little bit slower. Now keep in mind, it's not built for performance, not in that respect, but you could still get to 60 in a reasonable amount of time, especially if you put this up against Andres Bujanka, which I think takes about 2 minutes to get to 60. So that's not so bad. Internal and external aesthetics on this vehicle, I think, are actually quite good. It's handsome. It's not, crazy good looking, but it's not bad looking either. So I wanted to point out a few things. First of all, I like the grille design, even though not the whole grille is being used. You can easily tell. This hood design, I think, is fantastic with the character lines, the way they run, and this dip, I think, is really cool. Once again, this is for a rather pedestrian vehicle, right? Headlight design, some of you guys think this looks a little bit like a Porsche, and I tend to agree. Not necessarily a bad thing. These cuts that go around, these little tiny details, I really do think that Ford tried to give you a little bit more pizzazz for the money. Now, if you look from the side, the profile looks, I think, pretty good, but some people might actually think that this is something other than a Ford. In fact, one lady who drove past us in the parking lot said, "Is that a Porsche?" I kid you not. Swear to God. Then working your way back here, character lines all pull into the back and make for what I think is a very good looking rear end. That's important. Even this, which a lot of people are doing with other lower end brands, they want to make them look a little bit more premium, so they separate the letters. It's kind of unnecessary, but hey, it works, right? Let's talk about the interior design, which, like the exterior, I think is handsome. And that starts with logical pieces like this heads-up display. And it is a little piece of plastic glass that pops up, but it works really well. If you're really tall, you might have to crane your head a little bit to get it to work right, but no big deal. This LCD screen is very nice, and I love the way they have this contrasting colored fake wood going across the dash. It really does break up the sea of black. And Ford controls I find to be pretty damn good. I love the fact that they have a rubber feel to them. They feel relatively premium, and this overall setup is very logical and I think aesthetically pleasing. All right, let's talk about one issue that I have that I think Ford could take care of very easily, and that is essentially this. Now, granted, it's not a very big car, but an 8-inch infotainment screen is really small nowadays, especially for slightly higher level vehicles, right? So very small screen. And the other half of the problem is the fact that they offer Sync 3. Now, Sync 3 isn't that bad. Bear in mind, I don't mind it at all. However, one of the issues I really do have with that is the fact that they have Sync 4. So Sync 4 is available in other vehicles. Why is it not on here? I mean, seriously. All right, now there's a variety of different traction settings you can set up here, and that changes everything in terms of performance. So it goes from slippery to snow and sand assist to normal, eco, and sport. Honestly, sport doesn't really feel that much different than normal, but you know, it's kind of cool that it has the cool graphics, right? This is your park assist, so it can automatically park itself, provided that you are making it go forward and reverse. And then down here, this button is very important for people who want to use the EV mode, because you hit this and you can select, if you look at the dash, all the different EV modes that are available. All electric driving, save it for later, battery charging by engine, and normal operation. Normal operation basically runs this car like a regular hybrid. So what do we have? We have a vehicle that gets extraordinarily good mileage, very good electric range, doesn't handle great, but has a nice driving characteristic to it, fairly good looking inside and out, has some really good tech, but some of that tech is hampered by the fact that it's last generation tech. Yeah, there's a couple of give and takes, but overall I think it's an excellent value. And speaking of value, got the sticker right here. This vehicle, as equipped, now remember this is top of the line titanium, comes out to $43,000. That is really good if you look at the class and think of other vehicles that are plug-in hybrids. Now remember, Ford actually had their first plug-in hybrid way back, I don't know, 2017 or so, with the C-Max. Yeah, and that didn't sell like hotcakes, and I'm wondering if that had to do with the fact that that had a battery half the size of the battery in this, for one thing. This is a 14 kilowatt hour battery, basically. So I wonder if that was the reason, or if simply people were just not ready for plug-in hybrids yet. I think they are now, and I think that this is a pretty good value. However, until Ford puts in all-wheel drive, there are other options out there that might be more compelling. For the Fast Lane Car, this is Nathan. Thank you. See you next time.